cruelty. Hey, chaos touch me. Stuck to flee, soothing my intensity. Hey, I'm jumping ship and not.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another amazing episode brought to you by Games Glitches. And this episode, due to a popular demand for people asking me what kind of Frontline set am I using that is ridiculously overpowered. This Frontline build is incredibly built for simply PvE. Why? Because you become simply unstoppable. Yes, of course you could use it in PvP, but I made this build for PvP. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at what gear I have. This is basically the set I am going for, and I am going to explain each piece of gear. Please note that the most important thing once you're wearing Frontline is that if you equip right here, ladies and gentlemen, if you equip your ballistic shield, the only attachment, well, the only modification that is available would be the master mod, meaning that your shield will start healing slowly if it's not taking damage. And honestly, that's all you need. And this is the HP of your shield right here, 2.1 million. Please note that you're trying to aim for over a 2 million HP shield, and I will show you all the mods and everything that you need to have to achieve this. Now, let me go down the gear. Right here, I have Barrett's bulletproof vest, for obvious reasons. For example, one of the abilities is, well, if you have nothing up, your skill power is increased by 10%, which is really, really nice, considering the fact that, you know, you could always use additional skill power. But the most important thing is right here, one skill damage is increased by 5%. Now, you're probably wondering why that is important, and that has huge significance. Please note that when you use your shield, it does not count as one of activated skills for this the Barrett bulletproof vest. Therefore, your skill power stays the same. The second thing you must know, because of this vest, when you pop your heal, your DPS also goes up by 5%. If you could see there, ladies and gentlemen, my DPS went up from 270k all the way to 324k, giving me a 54k nice little bonus. The mods that I have in the bulletproof vest both add electronics and give you health. The reason is, it's very important for you to have health in case some mob sneaks up on you from the sides, but most of the time you're trying to keep everything in front of you. Therefore, electronics is quite very, very important, even though many of you would disagree to roll electronics on the chest piece. But I found that it's the most useful thing you can literally do. Well, you could definitely also roll firearms, you know, and roll electronics on the backpack. But it turned out that I got lucky with one piece and the other, and I decided to keep them this way, and it works perfectly fine. That wouldn't matter if this piece would have electronics and this piece would have bullets, because the stats would remain practically the same. In any case, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next piece. Right here, we have the Pharaohs oxygen mask. The Pharaohs oxygen mask is actually quite important, because if you're doing places where there are a lot of mobs with, well, flame torches, this will allow you to not burn and stop to basically put yourself out of fire. This really, really helps. This mask, you should definitely make sure that it's in electronics, and the major attributes on it is also electronics, which basically allows you to have a buttload of electronics. Now, for the mod right here, as you could see, ladies and gentlemen, the mod that I was putting in again is electronics and skill power. Why? I'm trying to maximize electronics on pieces that allow you to have as a major attribute as electronics, you know, except for in these two unique cases. In any case, now let's move on to the knee pads. The knee pads, again, the major attribute, I rolled health, and I rolled made sure that the knee pads are also electronics. The two mods that I used on these would be firearms and of course HP, and the other mod that I used, well, the product performance mod, is to increase the ballistic shield health by 7%. The biggest one I ever found would be 7.5% in other pieces of gear that I have. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough of them, you know, to put them in all of my gear pieces. Now, let's move on to the backpack. Again, with the backpack, you could either roll it electronics or firearms. Because my vest rolled as electronics, I decided to keep this as firearms. But roll, again, the major attribute into skill power. The problem with this backpack is the fact that the minor attribute has disrupt resistance. What you are looking for is very, very simple. You're looking for ammo capacity. If you could get here a 4850 ammo capacity, that would be amazing. Because that would mean that you will have more ammo and would be required to look for less ammo boxes and could just literally spray things down. Now, let's take a look at the mods. The mods in this case I used for firearms because I need firearms, but you could technically also use the mods that help out electronics and your HP. But I was trying to push for more DPS, so I kinda went with that. The prototype performance mods I have, again, as you guys could see right here, is the ballistic shield with health, and again, ballistic shield with health. I found this to be a lot more useful because ballistic shield has 2 million HP, and 7%, well, it becomes quite fucking significant, especially if you have, well, 2 of them, which is 14.5%, and you put this into every piece of your gear, which I did if it allowed me to. Now, the next set of gear I would be looking at is Frontline gloves. Again, they have SMG damage that I'm using because you're simply using a submachine gun, which is an amazing roll. I have them set into firearms. I also have critical hit and enemy armor damage, which is extremely, extremely useful. This is seriously one of the better gloves that I have found in the game. I couldn't find a better set of gloves. I mean, even though the armor isn't that amazing, though this arm, the only other thing that you could roll this is into skill haste. Please note, I kind of forgot to mention if some of the items, for example, right here, the Barrett's chest have skill haste. This is very important in case your shield breaks, so it recharges much quicker. It's a very, very useful thing to have for yourself. Now, the last piece would be the holster. The holster, again, is primarily rolled into firearms for additional DPS. You could never have too much DPS. As long as your shield is at least 2 million HP, you could kind of concentrate on your DPS and your toughness. Again, major attribute rolled into health. And again, prototype performance mod, ballistic shield health increase. Now, this is basically the best way you can go. Now, if we take a look at my ballistic shield once again, and we look under the master tab, because that is the only tab that works with Frontline, we would notice that I have 2.7 million HP, my damage is increased by 10%, my damage is resistance by 10, and I generate 200% threat with a 19-second cooldown. So if it breaks, you kind of just have to quickly survive for 19 seconds, which is not that hard to do if you're doing it with somebody. If you're by yourself, it does slightly become more complicated. The next thing on our list is, of course, weapons. The most important, of course, being the SMG. In this case, I found an amazing Navy MP5N. I preferred this over Vector, and I prefer this over AUG. For many various reasons, most of them are personal. My weapon, though, is rolled with Brutal for headshot damage, because with a shield you could literally walk up to the mob, with a critical hit damage increased by 15% because, well, you're going for those headshots walking up to them, and killing a target increases your health by 6%. You know, in case you do take damage, it's very nice. I mean, right here, on the other hand, I would rather have predatory, but unfortunately every time I roll this goddamn weapon it refuses to give me predatory. At this point I'm already like maxed out on everything on this. It's very expensive to re-roll, but if you're looking for an ideal stat, this is my personal suggestion. I would recommend predatory. Now let's take a look at the magazine. I have 119% magazine, reload speed, critical hit damage, headshot damage, critical hit chance, You know, of course, you need those critical hit damage, critical hit chance, headshot damage increases threat. You know why? Again, I'm in shield, I'm the tank, so it's better for mobs to hit me. And critical hit, reload speed, and stability. Again, if you haven't noticed, everything is heavily relying on a critical hit because you are going to be doing those critical hits quite heavily. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this nice little episode on Frontline Armor. If you enjoyed this episode, would really appreciate it if you hit that like button to help that channel grow. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, and if you don't subscribe, your next kid is gonna look like that, because that's what happens to everyone who doesn't subscribe to my channel.
You're still here. It's over. Go home. You expecting Sam Jackson show up with an eye patch and a saucy little leather number? Go.